All right, guys, grab a pencil and a pen and a piece of paper or a notepad. Let's get started. Let's talk about what's really happening when a prospect asks, "How's the market? How's the market? Real estate. How's the market? Hey, how's the market? Hey, how's the market?" Right? Agents are always asking the prospects are always asking the agents how the market is. Because that's just the question. It's never just about the market. It's about fear. It's about timing. It's about whether they feel safe making a decision. And this is where most salespeople lose control. They start giving headlines, statistics, general answers, and the deal drifts. Today, I'm going to show you the difference between how a rookie handles that question, if you're in sales, marketing, travel, insurance, car sales, mortgages, finance. I'm going to show you how that rookie handles that and how a true sales professional takes that same moment and turns it into a close, right? We're here to turn these moments into closures, to closes, right? If you're in real estate, cars, mortgage, insurance, yeah, this applies to you. Yes, you, the audience, right? Because this isn't about the market, it's about leadership inside the conversation, right? So let's get to it. Again, guys, I'm audio here. I don't need to show my face. I just talk to you guys. You listen, you watch, you write down. You don't need to see me, right? This isn't about looking at me and looking good. This is about me teaching you. And sometimes it takes that one person to listen rather than look and feel and touch, right? Take that moment, relax, reflect if you need to. Take a breather before you need to start. If you need a glass of water or a cup, grab that pen and listen in audio mode. It's the best solution. Watch this, listen to this video 3 times. Watch me write what I write on the blackboard. That's your focus right now. Your focus is not on chat GPT or chatting in a Zoom call, or not on messaging your partners, or not on watching TV, or not on visiting websites that you shouldn't be websites. If you're watching this with me one-on-one, be prepared. Focus on listening, right? Because it's about listening. It's about the voice. It's about listening. I'm not screaming at you. I'm talking to you. Okay. And rookies, if you can't handle it, then get the fuck out of this room. If you don't know yourself and you don't know what you want in life and you don't know your product and you don't know the market, get the fuck out of my class. This video isn't for you. Whether you're a woman, a man, both, as humans on this earth, we're put on this earth put on this earth to showcase what we have and offer, right? People were given offerings as that. And sometimes these offerings made money. And sometimes these offerings helped other people and families and children. So, when you're in and you're watching this course and you're listening to me, you're focusing. You're not watching me. You're not on chat in a Zoom call or Teams meeting, messaging your friends, or, you know, just answering my questions in a chat. I'm not here to look at that. I usually disable my chat. I usually put myself in this chat. I'm not looking at other people in this chat, right? So focus on that, because sometimes not knowing the who this person is in the back, it's not about that. It's about what he says. And that's where intelligence comes from. Intelligence comes from the voice. You're articulating your sounds. You're telling people what to do. You're teaching people what to say. You're showing them how to articulate language, how to talk. Do you get nervous in a call? Do you say Do you say yeah? Language. This is all language. It's not visible. It's not attraction. It's not me having a six-pack abs in this video. It's about listening. It's about writing, right? And the psychology of how people buy, right? You know, you can open up an entity yourself, right? Hire an attorney, and they'll do, and you can do it like a done with you service, right? Why would somebody go with an attorney or a done with you service, right? And not just go and click or some random thing where they go and spend like a couple $1,000, right? And go do it themselves. So you have to understand how the psychology of the people are. And that's the whole goal here. Friends, family, people on the street, cold calling, strangers, professionals, CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, whatever the case may be. It's all about the language. It's all about who they are. Can you trust yourself talking? Do you trust yourself talking? Or do you just look at yourself and say, I don't look good, but yet you know how to talk? Language is important. I'm gonna make a great objection here. And again, like I said, this objection here is just gonna handle we're gonna circle around the real estate agencies, the agents, the agencies, the brokers, and especially when the prospect says, how's the market? They like to talk about the market. That's fine. That's all marketing and stuff. I get it. Shows, you know, you know, gathering people into parties and stuff like that. But that's really a surface question. What that usually means is when I'm saying how the market is this a bad time to buy? That's where, that's where you got the prospect, right? You're this is your potential person that you're gonna sell to, right? Is this a bad time to buy? Am I overpaying? You know, is this risky? Should I wait? Let's role play this. Okay, guys? This is the goal here. I want to role play this, right? Again, I'm Sal Cosentino. I'm your CEO, cloud architect, and trainer. I've been doing this for a long time. There's people out there with licenses and over a $500 million in sales in the last 10 years, or $500,000 in sales, or just 1 year alone, a commission check. You sold about, let's say you sold about $8 million in homes in 1 year, and you made a commission of 2% or 6% or 3% or 5% or even 0.5% of that, and you're living off of that. Keep going, right? This month you sold a house. This month you had one house. You didn't make any money. We're about what, 7 weeks in, and you sold one house. You had five offers. You had five deals on the table, right? Network while you're doing that, right? Get your mojo going, right? Get yourself prepared for the next coming weeks. Have yourself ready for those next 4 or 5 weeks, right? That way you're ready to go. Go out there and post. I call it the 3-pin post, and I'm going to create a video on that because I feel like the 3-pin post is amazing. Cold calling on LinkedIn. I got a video on that, right? Cold calling on X, Meta thing. You're cold calling people. You're asking questions, right? You're going out to the potential buyer, and your followers will like that, right? Your public will like that. So in this scenario, I'm gonna role play. I wish I had people with me right now, but this is a one-on-one situation and not a one-to-many. And whoever's watching this video, it's one-on-one with you, right? So or your partner, whoever's with you. So if you have somebody beside you and you're watching the video, you're listening, you're interacting, you're writing down notes, right? You can reward, you can rewind, you can pause, you can go that. It's all about listening. It's not about what looks are fucking like. I don't give a shit. That comes after. That's part of the show. That's part of the market. I say sex sells to strippers. Looks sell to beauty and gym. People who want to run the gym or own a gym. We're showing you. That's what looks are for. I have a guy who looks like a short guy. He's about 4.5 feet tall, and he's over a $500,000 in sales in 2 months. His commission checks are off the roof, right? And he's smashing it in life. Why aren't you doing that? Looks or not. So how's the market? Here's the context. The home's listed at, let's say, for example, $500,000 or $750,000. Buyer's interested but hesitant, right? It's not really a transaction here. You're just saying, hey, this home is listed. And that's everywhere. Everywhere you go, it's listed, right? MLS listed. Any buyer will list the price, right? And that me as a prospect is looking at that and knows that already. So there's no need to introduce the price on a call or when you could talk to them in person and make it right. So the buyer's interested here. Yeah, he's interested in just the number right now. That's all I said. Right? He's interested in the number, but hesitant, right? Why is he hesitant? And this is where we're gonna figure out why he's hesitant. Even though he's got the number, maybe he's got a bigger number, but you don't know that. He's got $1 million budget. You just gave him a $250,000 budget to the sales rep. So I'm selling my home, and this guy has $1 million. What if that guy wants to spend $2 million? Why don't I just make this house $750,000 evaluation? Why do I gotta list it at 450,000, right? You as a sales professional need to think about that and know why. This isn't an emotion. This isn't industrial. And I said that to a lot of people before. Why is it a $450 million list when you have what? The exterior looks ugly. The front window looks like it's an octagon coming out, and it's got chip paints and chip stains where the homeowner could just paint it himself. Right? The evaluation is what counts here. So you got the interested is buyer, but you don't know the buyer. The buyer has probably a higher evaluation, right? And you, the sales professional, should work with that and know that. Don't be a rookie. How's the market on the prospect? Okay. Then you got Ricky. Oh, it's good. Sales. This is the sales rookie. Ricky, we call it, right? These are fictitious guy. We love Ricky. Um, we love Ricky. And it's good. Prices are kind of going up. It's competitive right now. How's the market? It's good. Prices are kind of going up. It's competitive right now. I've had this conversation before, right? And I'm a prospect looking, and I've got $1 million here to spend. I don't care about this listed at 450. I just want to look at it, right? Hmm. So what? Should I wait? That's me. What? Like, you want me to wait because it's competitive right now? Yeah, I mean, you could wait and see what happens, Rick. This is Ricky. Like, what just happened here? What kind of conversation is that, Ricky? You have no data. You didn't even ask the guy's name. Well, you know it's me, but you didn't even ask the guy's name. No leadership, no direction. You answer generally instead of personally. You flew the plane by yourself with no one in it. You flew that jet by yourself with no one in it. With what direction? Where's this plane going? How much money is this plane making within that one direction from point A to point B? He answered generally here, right? Instead of personally, right? It's good. Prices are kind of going up. It's competitive right now. Yeah, I mean, you could wait and see what happens. You reinforced uncertainty. You gave permission to delay. The deal drifts. I'm telling you right now, that deal, I don't want it. I don't want to work with you. Why should I work with you? Remember that. Why should I work with you? I don't care about the $450,000 home, but why should I work with you? Professionals, warriors. So I'm here. How's the market? That's a great question. Are you asking from an investment standpoint, timing standpoint, or affordability standpoint? Bang. Like this is controlling the conversation, and I'm gonna post this right here for you guys in big letters. Right? This is a real estate professional here. I've seen this before. This is great. Where are you in this world? Where's your card? Where's your door handle sign? I want to talk to you. It's a great question. Are you asking from an investment standpoint, timing standpoint, or affordability standpoint? Controls the conversation. You're asking them questions to prospect. And I'm going to answer. I'm going to say, hey, timing. I just gave my answer. Timing. I met you. That was awesome. I don't want to buy at the wrong time. The time is now. It's today. It's in this conversation. Finish the call. Get that sale. Get them to sign that you're my broker. You're my real estate agent. So timing, right? Timing. Here you go. There it is. Timing. Right? Let me get a red pen here. Timing. So out of the three, timing standpoint, investment standpoint. So one, two, three, affordability standpoint. How's the market? Timing. Bang. He chose number two. I don't want to buy at the wrong time. So he's giving you time now. Let's talk about time. Let's continue to stay around that time. So totally fair. Right now, inventory, right? You should know your inventory, professionals. Remember that. Know your inventory are stabilizing, okay? Which is like, yep, I got what you're looking for. It's tight, but I know what you want right now, right? And it's getting ready. In this neighborhood, right? He's looking in within this neighborhood, right? Specifically, homes under the price that we talked about, 450,000, right? But I added an extra 50,000 under 500,000 K, which is what the number was listed at. Um, are averaging 8 days on the market without selling within 2-3% of asking, right? So that is a good way to approach this. And if you were to break this down, right, into personalized, specific, right, to kind of expand on that, you have to listen, right? You can't just have the professional tell you this, but you also have to understand how the professional said this, right? And where his language came from. Totally fair. Right now, inventory is tight and rates are stabilizing, right? In this neighborhood, specifically, the homes under 500K are averaging 18 days on the market. So he's giving you numbers, yeah, but you have to understand, like, you're giving that selling point within 2 to 3% of asking, right? So in the real estate market response, you have to validate the prospect's concern. One, right? So you have to validate, and I'm gonna write this down for you. So you have to one, validate the prospect's concern. You're starting with empathy, totally fair, right? You're validating that concern, totally fair, understood, understandable. Acknowledge that their hesitation or question is reasonable, right? You're signaling you're listening and not just pushing the sale. Not about pushing the sale, right? Right? I'm gonna break this down for you guys. It's just to let you guys understand, right? We talked about timing. We talked about standpoint, right? Because market's huge. Market is vast. Market is, in region. It could be regional, could be availability, right? So totally fair right now, right? Like even like when, for example, a architect is looking at data centers, right? It could be, you know, the inventory that's available, the location, the time, the size, right? So totally fair right now. Totally fair. And when I say totally fair, I'm validating the prospect's concern, right? So this is based on totally fair, based on totally fair, right? Totally fair. And you know, you right now the inventory is tight and rates are stabilizing. You're giving market context here, right? So in this sentence here, if I'm breaking this down to you, you're not remember that. You're not just listen. You're trying to understand. Back down. Number two, and I don't have to break this down for you, but you guys have to understand the reasoning behind the language and why we use that language, right? So you're giving market context here, right? You're giving market context. You're starting with that. I mean, sorry, you're providing macro context, right? Without actually even overwhelming the prospect with numbers. So right now, inventory is tight, rates are stabilizing, right? You're explaining why moving quickly may be smart. You're explaining why limited supply and ready to start. Remember, he's got $1 million to spend here, right? You didn't even know that, right? How do you know that? Doesn't matter, right? Limited supplies, ready, steady rates, right? You don't have to go up $750,000. You don't have to do that. You're understanding the conversation, not understanding the money prospect. You're not automatically thinking about, oh, let's make $750,000. Or what's $450,000? Let's make $750,000. Let's make $1.25 million, $3 million, right? Not just general. You're not just you're moving quickly. You're not really moving. Why moving quickly, right? Right now, is with the limited supply is the inventory, and we're talking about the steady rates, right? So the rates are stabilizing. Great language, right? In this neighborhood specifically, we're talking about when we talk about in this neighborhood specifically, what that means is you're building trust and authority. So number three, trust is important. Trust and authority. Right? So we're looking at in this neighborhood specifically. Then we're talking about homes under 500,000 are averaging 8 days on the market and selling within 2 to 3% asking. Again, providing data, but frame it strategically. You're not really giving them the oddball numbers, right? You're framing it strategically. And there's a lot of mentors out there that'll probably they can repeat what I said. I don't care, but they'll have different strategies, right? And this is what my strategy looks like. I don't sell homes, but I've seen people go. I've trained people that actually sold homes and made their first, $1 million buy or sell for a client, right? You're helping out that. So in this neighborhood specifically, we talked about. We're now talking about homes under 500,000. You know what? I'm going to make this easier for me and less pain consuming because I don't like how it's built this way, but it's good for now. So we're going to talk about building trust and authority. Sorry, providing the data, but framing it strategically, right? We're buying the data and framing it in a strategy, as a strategy. You're giving specific evidence, right? To show urgency and competitiveness, right? So homes under 500 are averaging 8 days on the market. So you've just put up the price of the house, and you know that price of the house is off the market and bought within 18 days based on your numbers, right? Remember, you should know this, right? You should know your comps, you should know your numbers, you should know this already. So this information should be with you and attached on a notepad or even one of those cue cards that we used to use to study back in the days for a test. The little cue cards with the pink and blue light. I used to call it the Hilroy Juniors, right? And cue cards. Have that on your phone. Pull out your phone, right? Have it in your notes. That way, it's okay to use notes. It's okay. Even if you're talking to a multi-billion dollar, it's okay. Not everybody's perfect. And we live in a world that we're accessible to do what we want. Not in the precipice that you can pull out a phone and look at it and not care about oh, this person's not going to want to pay me anymore. Doesn't work that way, right? This is all about selling the home. It's about getting the right person, hiring the right person. So be that professional. I want to see more of that from you warriors, right? Don't be those rookies. Don't be that rookie. So avoid giving a single buyer weight answer. Instead, you want to show the reality so the prospect can make confident choices, right? So give specific evidence to show urgency and competitiveness. So understand that buying the data and frame it as a strategy here, right? And lastly, if we were to build it, we're looking at the transition to consult the closure, right? So remember, we talked about the closure. And the closure usually is after providing the market insight. A professional would immediately tie it back to the buyer's goals, right? So get back to the goals, right? Knowing this, the real question. So knowing this, the real question: does this meet your needs and timeline? Right. So this is after giving this information, right? Knowing this is right. The real question is: does this home meet your needs and timeline? I'm gonna split this into two. Right. Right. Does this home right meet your needs and timeline? Because waiting could risk it being gone or higher priced. If this fits what you're looking for, it makes sense to act now rather than later. Why are you going to lose out on 18 days on the market or just 3 months on the market without even selling the home? Or maybe 6 months on the market? Be prepared for that sale, right? And again, transition to consultative close. So step five, uh, this is transition. Here, we'll put it here. Step five. This is I call this the transition to consultative close, right? So knowing this is the real question, does this meet your needs and timeline? Because waiting could risk it being gone or higher priced. If this fits what you're looking for, it makes sense to act now rather than later. You wanna understand. You're knowing that the transition could be is what a professional is doing and why this works, right? Because if you're thinking about it, after you've given the market insight, you've given the specific, relevant, incredible, uh, the next step is trying the data back to the buyer's goals, needs, and timeline is what I want to say. So this is where the conversation shifts from right? Informational to action oriented, right? You've given the market insight, you've given the specifics, you've given the relevancy, you've given the as a credible home. The next step is try to get that data back to the buyer's goal, right? So, it's not just repeating what you said before or repeating what you've said, or you've, going back to what you said earlier. It's refocusing on the prospect's needs now. You should have this already, right? Because it was a question, answer, question, answer, right? question, question, question. Sorry, question, question, answer, question, right? So knowing this is the real question. Does your home meet your needs and timeline, right? You're focusing on the prospect's needs. Um, you're validating the prospect's concern based on that, right? The totally fair. So knowing this is the real question, right? Does this home meet your needs, right? So step five. And you're steering the conversation away from abstract markets. That's back to the prospect. So that's your goal here. Is you're steering the conversation. You're steering the conversation away from abstract market stats. Remember the stats, right? Back to the prospect. So the goal here is to make decision personal and not be real theoretical on that, right? Because you said you want it to be settled. You want to be settled before school starts. This whole hits timing, right? You could have said you said you wanted to be settled before school starts, and this is dating back through a conversation that you had earlier on, right? So this home hits the timing, correct? So you have to listen to the prospect. That was an example here. I just wanted the home, and that was part of your role play. Not really part of the role play, but a scenario based on that, right? So you said that you wanted to be settled before school starts, and this is all information from the buyer, from the prospect, right? So this home hits the timing, correct? So sales professional, you said you want to be settled before school starts. This home that you're looking at, this home that we talked about, hits that timing, correct? So you refocused on the prospect's needs there. You've introduced consequences of waiting because waiting could risk it being gone or higher priced. Because waiting, right? Well, let me grab a pen. Because waiting could risk it being gone or even higher priced, right? This is the subtle urgency, not really a pressure here. You're framing the market. You're not really. It's not really urgent. It's more of a subtle urgency, right? The risk of it being gone, and you're not really pressuring it or higher priced, right? Yeah, you could risk it from being gone or higher priced because that does happen. The seller might, or the prospect might want to sell it more now, right? Knowing that the information given is what people want, and not just saying sell it at this number in this firm, right? You're framing the market stats, right, as real world impact on their goals. Like, so the home might sell in a week. It creates a logical reason to act even without forcing a decision, right? So, you're introducing the consequences of waiting, right? So, let me write this out. Steps here, and this is what transitive. This is a sub of 5 point transition to concept. We're still here with step five. So, step one, right? Uh, we talked about refocus on the prospect's needs and not wants. There's a difference, right? Step two, introduce consequences of waiting. And I'm spelling consequences twice. Step three, I want you guys to write this down, please. And keep this in the back of your pocket. If it fits what you're looking for, it makes sense to act now rather than later, right? If it fits, if it fits what you're looking for, It makes sense to act now rather than later. If it fits what you're looking for, it makes sense to act now rather than later. You're giving them control. Remember, you're guiding them towards the close. This is called a conditional close. If X, then Y scenario, right? If X, then Y. This is detail orientation, especially in I see this as like, you just made a sale, bang, just because you did it the way you wanted. And now what? But the language is like, you must have been talking to somebody that was on your side. Confirm the firm. Sorry, confirm the fit and seek conditional commitments. So again, the FX, if X, then Y, right? And again, you're giving them that control. You're guiding them towards the close. This eliminates the project prospect from saying, I need to think. You don't want the prospect to say, I need to think, because they've given you an internally agreed it fits. I need to think about it. If X, then Y. Oh, if it rains, then grab an umbrella. If it snows, wear your boots. If it sells, then sign the deal. Step four, silence, and let the prospect decide. After this frequency, after this pause, let them respond, right? The professional doesn't fill the silence or push. They let the prospect process and agree, right? So let them respond. Let the prospect decide. Let them pause. Let them think. You're not always going to get that prospect that's going to buy right just because you said this. I'm going to buy, but I can guarantee if you follow the steps, you'll look good doing it, right? And lastly, step five, the closure. It's important, the closure, right? The close naturally. You know, does it make sense actor now than later, right? I need to think, right? You know, yes, this fits my need. Once they confirm yes, they fits my needs. If they say yes now, the prospect. Let's say in this scenario, the professional immediately moves to the next step. Perfect. Let's start the paperwork. You're officially secured. Hey, simple question here. And this is a great, you guys can use this as a closure. I don't care. Perfect. Let's start the paperwork so you're officially secured. But remember, all of this, what happened? What did you do? Right? And the more practice and the more scenarios we do, the more scenarios, the better we're gonna look, right? The better we're gonna get at things, right? So, you know, to get to step one, you need to understand step two. To get to step three, you need to understand step three. To understand step four, you need to finish one, two, three, and four. One, two, three before you get to step four, right? Don't get stuck. And then once you've get to step four, you're grooving now. You can close naturally. Perfect. Let's start the paperwork. You want other closures? Well, you're gonna have to ask me for it, right? I'm not gonna just give it to you. This is just an example, right? You can say closures. I'll give you a few now, but you don't have to memorize word for word. But you got to learn how to speak. You got to learn how to use your language. You've got to learn how to get through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 to close naturally, right? There's other ways of closing a deal beyond just saying what I just said here, right? You're not just following what I said. And, these style closures are, based on different assumptions, summaries, conditional closes. There's, there's many closes. We call it the soft close, the choice close, the step close, the now or never close, the assumptive close. There's different closures. All right, message the word 7 closes, and I'll send you over a PDF. Okay. But you need to subscribe and like this channel. Follow me on on you can follow me on YouTube, and I will send you the 7 closures that I feel um that don't feel like selling. They're framing the next logical step. They're beneficial. They're making it easy for the prospect to say yes, right? It's all about the language, right? Doesn't mean that I sold, you could sell millions on this, and I can guarantee you that. Sure, you sold houses with that, right? How do you close? Put your comments in below. So yeah, I'll just give you one as an example. This is the natural close, right? So let's start the paperwork. I've also said, if this solves all the issues you've mentioned, are you ready to move forward today? Let's get verbal agreement before moving the paperwork, right? Get the verbal first. Yeah. Not just let's go to paperwork and then, not even say anything, right? So conditional closes is another one, right? So message the word closes and I'll send you over a PDF. So, there's and I'll send you over a chart, but you have to like, subscribe, share this with 3 friends. So like this video, share with 2 friends that would benefit from this, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'll send that over to you, okay? Bottom line, the sales professional, sales warrior, we turn markets questions into decision moments. It's not about fear, pressure, or just persuasion. I'm not persuading you. It's about clarity. It's about relevance, right? It's also definitely about momentum. We can create many role play examples with dialogues between Ricky, again, our fictional character, Sal, our sales warrior, me, using exact consultative closes, right? Transactional results, showing the step-by-step flow from objection to insight to conditional closes to deals, right? Because that's what you're looking for, is the closures, right? Don't give up. So at the end of the day, your prospect isn't buying, right? I'm going to close this off right now. Um, you know, at the end of the day, your prospect isn't buying because the market is good. They're buying because they feel certain. Rookies answer questions. Professionals diagnose. Professionals lead, and they close. They definitely close, right? A rookie could close a deal too, but you're not really, you're not. That's not a conversation you want to have with a potential buyer, right? Um, the moment someone asks how's the market, that's not pressure. That's opportunity for you. Who cares about people asking you those questions, right? That's opportunity. Like, it's your chance to step up. Potential, cold, warm, right? He's beside you up front in a message. Guide the decision instead of reacting to it. Who cares if they don't answer it? You said what you said. You did what you did. Go on, move forward, right? If you want to separate yourself from an average salesperson, stop reporting information. Stop controlling direction. That's how deals close. I'll see you in the next one.